So it's day 2 of Anthony Davis videos. We'll see for how long I can really stretch this out. I have a cold, in case I sound weird. There's your reason. We're going to talk about the Lakers because a lot of people would say that they are in the driver's seat right now for AD because we got a little bit of time before the deadline, and if the Pelicans decide to wait until the offseason to move AD, then by that time the draft can play out, and the Celtics could make an offer, and you got to assume it's going to be tougher for the Lakers to compete with everybody else once those things have happened. I mean, I did mention this in the video yesterday, but this one is more focusing on the Lakers because I think there's more detail to go into. And so the idea is, do the Lakers make an offer for AD that is kind of gargantuan, that some people could say is perhaps giving up too much, but that's your only real way of getting him right now, to where the Pelicans basically say, you know what, we could wait, but this offer is so good we might as well jump on it? Well, I mean, we really are looking at, 5 young players, I guess? Lonzo, Ingram, Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, and Zubats. And Zubats has looked pretty good lately. I did not mention him in yesterday's video. I probably should have, but it's here now, I guess. Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think in a perfect world, if you were the Lakers, you could keep, let's say, 2 of those young guys, or maybe just one of those young guys, whether it's just simply Josh Hart just to have a shooter on the team, or Kuzma to have a guy who can still put some points up. Because what you would not want to happen if you're the Lakers is, okay, even if you've got LeBron and Anthony Davis, what if the team around them is just a barren wasteland where you may have some NBA players in terms of Rondo, Stevenson, or whatever, but you don't have guys who can make shots and all that? Then you got to look to free agency. Maybe you have to play Shfee McCulloch more, who, he's had his moments this year, but you're going to rely on him for high 20s in minutes and all that. That could be a little frightening for a rookie. That can be a tough thing. Now, of course, there is always the idea of you get the star and then you figure it out later. So if push comes to shove and you have to do it, then I do think the Lakers would end up doing this. But is there potentially a line where they just say, you know what, we're giving up a little too much here? Because we saw it with the Knicks, right? When they traded for Carmelo Anthony, they traded away so much stuff that they spent all of Melo's tenure there trying to build the roster back up, and they weren't able to do it. Now, granted, if you got LeBron and AD, you're already kind of like halfway there just with those 2 dudes, but even a team like the Clippers of the past few years, right, when they had Blake and CP, of course, those guys are not as good as LeBron and AD, but even them, they had a really good top 4 players, right? Blake, Chris Paul, DeAndre, and Redick, and then the rest of the roster was kind of a mess. I mean, they had Matt Barnes for a time there, but we saw with them, they had problems when it really mattered because they had to play their guys an insane amount of minutes, and everybody was tired, and they just didn't have enough bodies to go to, and you fear that could be a bit of a risk if you're the Lakers in this situation. I mean, let's say they had to trade away all their young players, or let's just say 4 of them. We'll say they're allowed to keep Josh Hart, okay? And the reason I'm suggesting this is because I do think it will take an offer of this magnitude to get Anthony Davis, because like I said at the end of that video yesterday, this could end up being the biggest trade since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, given Davis's age, his at the moment extremely affordable contract, and I don't think the guy's hit his ceiling. I mean, we saw Kawhi move not long ago, but Kawhi came off of a year of being hurt and all the character stuff, the uncle and all that. So this is the biggest outlier you can possibly think of with a trade, right? So anyway, we'll say Josh Hart they're allowed to keep. Their starting 5 would probably end up being LeBron, Anthony Davis, Josh Hart, and then you may be taking somebody back from the Pelicans, somebody like an Etuan Moore or a Solomon Hill if the money got to that point. Maybe somebody like a Darius Miller who can just be a body and make some standstill threes. Maybe that's enough because your top 2 guys are just that good, but not exactly a murderer's row around those 2 players. Now, of course, between buyouts, potentially other trades they could make, because at that point, if you got those two, you could be a little bit more reckless with trading away other first-round picks and things like that. So you could definitely make some other moves to perhaps get one more guy. But the other thing is, of course, free agency, because if you have LeBron and Anthony Davis, I think that comes out to about $65 million or something like that between the two of them, or 64.5, I guess. And it's not like they have any super long-term contracts. And if Lonzo and Ingram were in the deal, then that means their money is, not going to be on your books next year. So that would still give you an opportunity to get somebody in free agency, whether that is a third big-time star or just a really good complementary player like a Chris Middleton or something. Hell, there's even been some Klay Thompson rumors thrown around. I mean, I don't know if the max contract would be available. I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers that hard, but they'll definitely have enough money to get a very good player. And if you have these two, a very good player, and then you just do a good enough job through minimum contracts and whatever to just have a nice just crop of dudes who know what they're doing, then that's probably not, if not the best team in the league, like right up there with the Warriors. So, well, I should say if Klay Thompson comes to the Lakers, then perhaps that pushes them above Golden State at that point. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the rationale. If you were forced to trade basically 4 or 5 of these young dudes, you'd have to take some Pelicans back because you can't do like a 5-for-1 trade. And then, draft picks would have to go to the Pelicans. But again, it's all going to rely on New Orleans. Do they want to take a chance on Lonzo and Ingram and all these guys and think, yeah, we can do a better job developing them than the Lakers have done? Because I think you could argue that the Lakers have not totally done the best job of putting these guys in proper positions. I mean, Luke's offense, it's not bad. I wouldn't consider it to be one of the better offenses in the league. I mean, last year their main calling card was that they just played really fast. And kudos to him because he had the defense looking pretty good, but I think if Brook Lopez wasn't there last season, their offense would have been potentially like one of the worst in the league. I also think they've been trying to fit Brandon Ingram into this scorer role, which, I mean, he's not bad at, but to me, he could just be doing so much more as a cutter and coming off of screens and a rebounder and a playmaker. And I think if you told him to really focus on defense, I think he could be one of the better to potentially one of the best defensive players in the league. And I don't know, they want to throw him the ball in the low block and they want him to run pick and roll and all that. And I mean, he's showing signs that he can do those things, but I don't think they're maximizing what they can get out of him. And so yeah, maybe the Pelicans would trust that they can do a little bit more with those guys. Maybe they want to go a different route, get some veterans, and just try to be respectable. Maybe they'll wait for, the season to end and all that. I don't know. But it is going to be on the Lakers to make the Pelicans go, you know what? This offer is too damn good. You can have them. So